Alright guys, I'm finally getting round to using probably what is the best free-to-play team and unit we've ever seen in Dokkan, and that is the free-to-play Rose Clones. All fully rainbowed, all max links, and all have their special equip orbs that you can give them from their own event as well. Finally getting around to this kind of got pushed back just because I was link leveling them to level 10. I wanted them at their very best. We had new EZAs and I had to link level them to level 10. And it just eventually it got pushed so far back that I'm finally getting to try this now somehow without being spoiled. So of course we do have him on the Carnival LR Rose's 220 lead. We do have the Fizz and the Int one here to start with. And the Fizz one does have a 657k attack stat and also 396k defense. The Int version has 659k attack stat and 345k defense. And as the second or third attacker in the turn, the Fizz version of the unit is going to be giving himself... That's really annoying. All of those Int orbs are there because they will be good for the Int unit, but we're gonna have to give them all away, I'm afraid. He is changing Int Keys Fizz to Fizz Keys Fizz, which is a little bit of a clash considering the Int type one is changing the tech to Int Keys Fizz, and then to be fair, it ended up kind of just working itself out. To be fair, we actually managed to get the Int one and Int orb. So on super attack, the Fizz unit is going to raise attack by 30% and massively raise defense by 100% for one turn. It does have a 50% chance of a super attack transforming for supreme power, which they all do have that 50% chance to change. 19.2 milli attack stat on a free-to-play TUR is a little bit wild. And 17 mil on the Int one is also a little bit wild. So every single one of them is going to get 40% attack and defense up to 200% per future saga category ally on the team, which everyone is. The Fizz unit gets 6% damage reduction up to 30%. The Int one gives all allies attack and defense by 8% up to 40%. Now we have the AGL and Tech ones, whereas the Tech one will have all enemies minus 8% attack and defense, no more than 40%, which isn't that good, but it's there, I guess. Whereas the AGL one will have a chance to evade enemies' attack by 10% up to 50%. So I'm actually going to slide him into... I mean, I would have him in slot 2, but I'm not going to be able to get him a single AGL key sphere, which would actually give him an extra 20% chance to dodge. What does the Tech one get for getting a Tech key sphere? 40% damage reduction when receiving an attack, as long as the enemy's super attack. So let me actually do this then, because the AGL one isn't getting an AGL keys for, I'm afraid. So we will shimmy him. On super attack, the Tech one is greatly raising attack and defense by 50% for one turn. He can also seal, but we can't seal here. And then the Int one, of course, he was from the turn prior, does also greatly raise attack and defense by 50% for one turn, and raises allies' defense by 15% for 2 turns, which of course has sprawled into this turn. So that means all the other clones get it as well. And 29 mil. We're just shy of a 30 million attack stat again on a free-to-play TUR. No dodge, though. And 15.4 on the AGL unit. Crazy, crazy work I'm seeing from free-to-play units. This is something else. And again, the fact I've kind of gone through this, not spoiled. Look at the additionals go. Look at Bro Cook. Remember, that's 50% attack and defense each time. Look at him go! Oh my god! Damn, what was that, like 2, 3 additionals? 3, 4 super attacks in total? Wild stuff. Now we have the Strength one, who is going to massively raise attack by 100% and raise defense by 30% for one turn. And he'll get 15% chance to crit up to 75% per future saga category ally on the team. So the Strength one is mainly here for some good old damage. And then they all have the conditional part of their passive of per future saga category ally on the team, whose name includes clone, which naturally you're going to run them all together anyway. So in terms of triggering that part of their passive, it's going to be fairly easy to do. The strength one does get another 5% chance to crit, up to 25%, an attack of 30% up to 150. So he can actually give himself guaranteed crit, which is just kind of insane if you really think about it. Because the Fizz one actually has damage reduction and massive raises defense on super attack, I'm actually going to let him go in... Actually, do I want to let him go in slot 3? Because in the strength one does have dodge. How do I want to do this? I'm going to leave it like this. And at least we're giving them all their correct typing of orbs. And then the Fizz one, Future Saga category ally whose name includes clone in the name, will get attack and defense of 20% up to 100% and 4% damage reduction up to 20. So that's 50% damage reduction on him. The Int one will then give even more support, which is all allies 6% attack and defense up to 30%, while getting the 20% attack and defense up to 100%. 21.5 mil from the strength clone he's putting out. The tech one will also get the 20% attack and defense up to 100% in total. And then again, all enemies attack and defense minus 6%, no more than 30%. I mean, giving the enemy minus 70% attack and defense in total is pretty nice. I just would have wanted something a little bit more important. But I mean, considering these clones do kind of everything, I guess it's not so much of a problem. By the way, type disadvantage, and he's tanking that for double digits. I just want to point that out. And then the AGL clone, per Future Saga category ally whose name includes clone, does get 30% defense up to 150 and another chance of evading enemies' attack by 4% up to 20%, which would have taken his dodge chance up to 70% in total as a base. So now we're back round to the Int and Tech. So, the Tech unit, which again, all of the clones do have, when the team includes all 5 extreme types, which naturally they all will. I'm also going to give them all the Rose support right now. I'm going to do that twice as well, why not? But they all have that condition in their passive when the team includes all 5 extreme types, which is easy to do because you're always going to run all of these clones together. The Tech one will get 150 attack and defense and interrupt the attacked enemy, whereas the Int version will get 150 attack and defense and also an enemy scouter, which we can see in play right now in slot 1. Since he supports, I'm actually going to let him go in slot 2. We also just don't have Int key spheres, although I do see one at the back. The Fizz one does give all allies 30% defense for 2 turns. And then the AGL one gets all allies attacked by 30% for 2 turns as well. And the Strength one gives himself 150 attack and defense when attacking a superclass enemy, which we're not facing right now, so he will miss out on that. But they all do get an extra 150 attack and defense for having all 5 extreme types on the team, which again is going to be really easy to do considering you're always going to be running these clones together because they are literally made to work off each other. All the support that these units give, you know, the Int one is pretty much a support unit, but a lot of these do have supports in their passive, which end up doubling up, so you've got a good amount of support flowing through the team. You've got ones that focus on crit, additional, dodge, damage reduction, you know, debuffing the enemy. They all do pretty much everything in the game you would want from a unit, all between each other. So it just ends up working well as a team. 35.9 mil the Tech clone is putting out because of the Rose support right now, which is crazy because that is a free-to-play TUR. And 22.7 mil, pretty much off a support unit, by the way, is also pretty crazy as well. Any additionals? Yes, 21.1. Don't forget that it's 50% attack and defense each time as well. And you can get all of these guys for free. You can max them out for free. You can get them their own skill orbs that are dedicated to the clone units, again, for free. So any of you guys who have been newer players in the GDC, you have probably the best free-to-play team we've ever seen in Dokkan at your disposal. If you were ever going to start Dokkan now, this would be the time to do it because of how good this free-to-play team is. Now, the final part of their passive, or the second to last part of their passive, which every clone has, which is for picking up 1 or more type key sphere. which they all do have, which I've been trying to do throughout this entire video. The strength one, because he is indeed here, does get an additional super for picking up one or same type of orb. The AGL one gets another, that's right, another 20% chance to dodge. So that means for his per Future Saga category on the team, which again, naturally, you're going to have a full Future Saga team anyway, because of the team you're going to run him on. Then per Future Saga category ally, whose name includes Clone, is another 20% chance to dodge, which again, you're going to do anyway, because you're going to run all these clones together. To then have, with one AGL orb, which I think that's going to be the only difficult thing, is depending on who's where on the rotations. You might want to kind of sort the rotations out as you go, because the orb changing might clash. As long as it gets one or more AGL keys through, which unfortunately we didn't, that's another 20% chance to dodge. That is 90% chance to dodge in total on this free-to-play Rose Clone team, which is crazy, because that is AGL UI levels of dodging, and he is an LR EZA. So that is wild. The tech one will get damage reduction of 40% when receiving an attack from an enemy who's hit by his super attack, which is quite nice considering he's the one who debuffs the enemy. Then we have the Fizz one here, who will gain guard to go with all of his damage reduction as well, which as long as you're hitting all of those conditionals, which again, you're naturally going to do, that is guard to go with the 50% damage reduction on a free-to-play unit. And finally, the Int one, who's now moved on to the other rotation, does recover 10% HP, literally with a singular Int orb, which is very nice indeed. Honestly, these units are actually insane. Now, I'm going to move the tech one. The AoE, I'm very curious to see how they tank, especially the tech one, who does have type disadvantage. To be fair as well, if we get super attack, does the friend Rose survive? I hope so, because we've come this far with a free-to-play team. Like, the majority of the team is free-to-play, and we have survived. How are they looking on the AoE? Alright, maybe not as well, but I'm completely fine with that because they're free-to-play units. Honestly, this free-to-play team is wild. To finish out their passive, which there were so many to get through, I'm really not surprised we didn't get there, is when they attack with 12 or more key. All of their passives are pretty much identical, just with different abilities. The Fizz unit gets 200% attack and defense, attacks effective against all types. The In one gets 200% attack and defense and guard. And then the Tech one gets 200% attack and defense and another 200% attack and defense, which is an extra 400% attack and defense, by the way. On top of the 200 he already gets per Future Saga category ally on the team, and the extra 100% for Future Saga category allies name includes Clone, and the extra 150 for all 5 extreme types on top of that. As long as your HP is at 60% or less, or if an enemy is debuffed or stunned or sealed. And then the AGL unit gets 200% attack and defense, 2 additional attacks each, which have a 70% chance to become a super attack. And the Strength Clone gets an extra 200% attack and defense and 20% damage reduction, which is very nice indeed. Which is going to be easy to do with absolutely all of them, because naturally they link perfectly together. So getting yourself 12 or more key is literally just guaranteed super attacking, which you're going to do naturally anyway. So that's always pretty much guaranteed. Just kind of like the rest of their passive. As I said, for a free-to-play team to compete that well, sure, not in one of the hardest events in the game, but in a pretty difficult event regardless, that still hits quite hard. And again, these are free-to-play TURs, by the way, with no EZA. They held their own easily, with no problem, with no qualm. The only thing that caught this team was the fact there was an AoE, while this guy had type disadvantage. And the tech one is the one that just debuffs. Does have 40% damage reduction, but that's pre-super. That's no extra defense. Maybe if we had one that had all of the damage reduction and guard, we might have actually have been fine. The only part of this team, which is a downside, is the units will clash on their orb changing, depending on which ones you have in the same rotation. So if you can get that under wraps quickly, which of course, me reading these for the first time since I saw them, since they were coming in a data download, I'm not going to remember everything. That's the only part that is the downside to this team. Other than that, this is easily the best free-to-play team I think we have ever seen in Dokkan, ever. It's such a shame it took me so long to finally get around to do this. But boy, was it worth the wait, because they are insane. How a free-to-play TUR is putting out 20, 30, almost 40 million attack stats. And also just that good with all of the damage reduction, the support, the guard, everything you want from a unit. All of these units do between each other. And it just makes the team synergy something else. As I said, such a shame it took me so long to get around to this, but I said it was worth the wait, and I'm glad it wasn't spoiled. So, better late than never. Let me know your thoughts of the free-to-play team down in the comments. Do you think this Rose Clone team is the best free-to-play team in the whole game? Because I definitely do. But I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care, have a great day, and peace.